Namaskar. Welcome to this session. So we are continuing our prelude to Yogasana. In the last session, I briefly told you that in a statement such as I am eating, I am walking, I am talking, I am moving, I am hearing, I am seeing, I am thinking, there is that disintegrated condition in us. Because when you are seeing, you are also doing so many things. When you are eating, you are doing so many things along with eating. You can be eating and talking, eating and thinking, eating and watching, eating and hearing. So there is that division and fragmentation which takes place within us. But in case of I am in sleep, this doesn't happen. So sleep is a unique state that we need to understand. Now, subjectivistically we cannot have an expression that I am sleeping, but let us take it to second person or third person. He is walking, he is talking, he is speaking, he is eating, he is watching, he is listening. So we can infer the fragmentation, disintegration, division of the he, because a part of he is eating and part of he is also hearing, seeing, etc., etc. So this subjective entity of that he or you gets divided in fragments. But when you say he is sleeping, then he is sleeping means there is no such thing. There is indivisible unity. And that's the unique condition of the verb sleeping compared to eating, walking, talking, moving, hearing, seeing, thinking. So this is to be understood here. How is this verb unique? That in this particular verb, only in this verb, we are undivided. Our subjective entity is undivided. The yours and in you, or I, me, mine, in me, are all disintegrated in other verbs, while there is no disintegration and division in the verb sleeping. So we should not be equating all verbs with the verb of sleeping. And little Kshetra Kshetragna Vijnana tells us about this. It's a unique state. Okay, when in state of sleep one is not divided, or there is no divisibility in subjective entity, that part of it is sleeping and part of it not sleeping, etc. For subjective entity it doesn't happen like that. But in other activities, while you are reading, but your digestive system is digesting what you ate. Your respiratory system is breathing to keep you alive. So the various systems are in their own function. Endocrine system, digestive system, excretory system, they are all in their own function. And then after a while you realize that they have functioned all this while, because then you feel like going for a toilet engagement, or having got hungry, you will feel that you should be eating something, or you feel now you are thirsty and therefore you should drink water. That means the systems are all working on their own. So there is that federal condition in our embodiment. And that is why there is no yoga in those activities where there is federalization or federal condition. Respiratory system is respirating, digestive system is digesting, circulatory system is circulating, endocrine system is endocrining. So we can understand this federal condition. Although that is happening in sleep all that is happening under the involuntary system. But the subjective entity doesn't have division in sleep. You can't say, I was sleeping, my 1/3 was sleeping and 2/3 was not sleeping. You say, I completely slept, I was sleeping. You don't say, I was 10% sleeping and 50% sleeping and 80% sleeping and other part of me was not sleeping. When you really experience sleep, you have 100% of you in sleep, the subjective entity. Although your body is not sleeping, your brain is not sleeping, it is carrying out autonomous functions. Yet for subjective entity, there is no divisibility, because even when you are fast asleep, the breathing is going on, heartbeats are going on, circulation is going on, digestion is going on, then the excretory system is also operating. So they are all working. But I am referring to the federal system of you, which is operative in your outgoing state of eating, walking, talking, hearing, etc. You divide yourself and you are doing so many things simultaneously. While you are hearing, you are also eating. While you are eating, you are also seeing. While you are seeing, you are also talking. So that's the federal condition of the subjective entity, which happens in all awakeful state activities, but not in sleep state activity. So this has to be pondered over and conceived properly. So one might think that there is divisibility and therefore there is lack of focus. Suppose you have a focus in what you are doing. What is that? But you should know that when you are sleeping, you don't have focus. So sleep is again a unique state. Maybe you are reading a novel, a wonderful, appealing piece of literature, and you are totally engrossed and you are totally focused, engrossed, with minimum digressions or almost no digressions. So you are completely focused and you say you are absorbed in that novel or piece of literature, which is very fascinating. But you should know that in sleep, to be undivided, you don't need focus, you are not in focus. Without focus, you are undivided. While in case of reading a novel or listening to music, where possibly you are absorbed and you have no distraction at all, perhaps, or very little distraction or no distraction even possible, yet you will see that there is a factor of focus, engrossment. In sleep, you don't have engrossment or you don't have focus. So it anyway stands out. So let's come to asana here. If suppose you are doing asana with a complete focus, yet it will not become yoga. Because what is expected in yoga is not focus. Elsewhere you need focus. Listening to music, attending to studies, reading a textbook, reading a literature, hearing a discourse, hearing a speech, hearing a talk. You need focus, absorption. But little orientation to yogic dynamics will tell you that in yoga, you need circumspection and not a focus. So even in asanas, you don't need concentration. Even in pranayam, you don't need concentration. What you need in yoga is circumspection, because it is inclusive process. You, yours, and in you. So I wanted to add little more to for a clarity factor in you when you think over it and ponder over it. You should certainly ponder over what has been said. It is not just hear and think that you are done. Just by hearing me, you are not done. You will have to ponder over it and have your own masala of thought, seasoning of thought, so that you will be able to crystallize on your own. Now, that was one factor that has come as an addenda to the last session. Towards the end of it, I mentioned something very briefly, and I little delineated that matter. Now in asana, we come to another important aspect to construe it so that we can understand the nuances and implications of asana as mentioned by Patanjali. The other day I said, it is not a condition that you are doing an asana. That is not an essential, quintessential state. Asana should happen on you. So, you are doing an asana is a raw condition, preliminary condition, or it is run up to yogasana. But once the yogasana is evolved, then yogasana is done on you in quotes, the subjective entity. Now, another thing that we are trying to cast light today on is that in asana, it is not that the body is doing something, the breath is doing something, and mind is doing something. It's not that three entities are working or three instruments are working, or maybe you can count body, mind, breath, senses, etc. Not that it is yoga because it is body, mind, breath, senses, psyche, consciousness are orchestrating the whole endeavor. That is not the precise condition. The precise condition is that there is associated condition, related condition. So, connected condition, associated condition, affiliated condition, related condition, and then in kneaded condition, K-N-E-A-D, needed condition, and then integrated condition and unified condition. So, it is not that there is body, mind, breath as a broader classification doing an asana, doing a yogasana. But these three aspects and matters are such: body matter, body aspect, body factor, body facets; mind matter, mind factors, mind facets, mind aspects, mind organs; the breath aspect, breath factor, breath organ, breath matter. These three matters are such that they can get kneaded. Not only get kneaded, they can get unified. They can get integrated, they can get unified. So, as a preparatory to asanas, we need to have associated condition of body, mind and breath. So precisely it should be said it is associated body, associated mind, associated breath, which are engineering the structuring of an yogasana. Rather than body, mind, breath structuring an asana. Body, mind, breath do not structure an asana. Associated body, mind, breath would be structuring an asana. So we need to ponder over this. Body, mind, breath associated, and associated body, associated mind, associated breath associated. And in asanas, there are associated conditions to bloom and blossom. In that case, they start interacting. The body, mind, breath interact. Body, mind, breath have interface. Body, mind, breath interplay. Body, mind, breath have interresponses. This is the condition of yoga for someone like you and me. That in asanas, how does the yoga come about? Basically, we allow the associated body, mind, breath, senses, psyche, consciousness to interact. Have interface, then interact, then inter-respond, inter-participate, inter-involve. Now this is the condition of yoga for a neophyte practitioner. That's the yoga in asanas. In case of posture, the body is put into posture, and body does the posture, and body is taken to posture. But in proper preparatory, which are aspect of protocol of asanas, if the preparatories are carried out properly, that's a protocol. So, they all will be coming together for one endeavor, and they form a teamwork. The body, mind, breath, senses, psyche, consciousness form a teamwork, and that is why it is body. This body in quotes. Like when we say for a particular social work, professional work, business work, people come together. They come together and have a joint venture kind of thing. They come together and work for one end. It could be business, it could be social activity, it could be philanthropic activity, any kind of activity. People come together. And when they come together, they have one agenda, they have one mission, and then they have mutual coordinations. They are mutually connected, mutually related, mutually also in communications, and they are in mutual responses, mutual activities, and that's how the joint venture takes place. So joint venture can take place in business, or in any philanthropic activity, or in a social activity, any personal activity, any family activity. And then that's called team. And then that becomes a body of people. The body of people have unified purpose. Just collocation of people doesn't become a body of people. Diversified agendas, diversified intents, diversified purposes. And it's only collocation of people. Number of people have come together in the sense there is a flock of people. That is not a body of people. But when they have one mission, one purpose, one agenda, then you can understand the mutual connectivities between them, how they co-opt, how they cooperate, how they work in synchronicity and coordinations. Because they have one mission, they have one goal. And that is called body of people. So understand the body of people in the sense it is a teamwork, and body of people where only there are many people in a particular location or area but are not in mutual connectivity and are not in any unified activity. They have diversified intents, diversified purposes. So just because people are together, it doesn't become body of people in figurative sense. Literally, they might be a body of people. Like water body, people, body of people, people body. But when you say body of people, they have that one direction, one gravity, one purpose, one agenda, one mission, one outlook, one intent. And that's how they are mutually connected to each other. So in asanas, in yogasanas, it is not just a posture. There is that coming together with a unified purpose, like it's a body. It's a body of factors such as body, mind, breath, senses, psyche, consciousness, body organs, mind organs, all come together in a unified purpose. Therefore, when you are doing an asana, say when you are in Shirshasana, it is not only that your surface anatomy is in Shirshasana, but your entire anatomy is Shirshasana, your physiology is in Shirshasana, your systemic body is in Shirshasana, your breathing is in Shirshasana, your mind is in Shirshasana, your senses are in Shirshasana. They all come together, which is one of the important protocol aspects. Otherwise it is not yoga. Because of this protocol, it becomes yoga, in the sense coming together. They come together for that one purpose of Shirshasana, and it's not only that your surface anatomy is on the head, but they all participate. They all come in and they create a form, a teamwork. So Shirshasana is not just a posture. There is typical breathing system of Shirshasana, typical mind system of Shirshasana, typical sensory system of Shirshasana, typical psychosensory system of Shirshasana, psychomental system of Shirshasana. Your liver, stomach, colon, bladder, spleen, pancreas, etc. are in Shirshasana. They all get into Shirshasana. Not only your surface anatomy, which apparently seems to be that way, but everything is getting into Shirshasana. It is because of collective dynamics of Yogasana, which is important, fundamental aspect in the protocol. So all the systems of your body will be in Shirshasana. Not only your skeleto muscular system in Shirshasana, but the systemic body, all the organs will be in Shirshasana. All the systems from your skeleto muscular system to glandular system to metabolic system to psychomental system, all the systems have a unified purpose to be in Shirshasana. That is why it gets the label of being in Yogasana. Then Shirshasana becomes a Yogasana. Just standing on the head doesn't mean Shirshasana. All these aspects have to come together. And one of the connotation of yoga is to bring together, come together, stay together. That's the meaning of word yoga. There are several connotations to word yoga. And when they start having interactions, body, mind, breath, senses, when they interact, there is a typical mental state emanating out of it. So, while you are circumspect in your Shirshasana, when you are in the orchestration of Shirshasana, you shun yourself from the world outside you. So there is that kind of vritti nirodha, that you have shunned the external world around you, not by focus but by involvement, not by focus and concentration but by being circumspect and being in that orchestration. And that is why it becomes Yogasana, even if it is not a Yogasana of a very proficient person, but one who is educated in the protocol aspects of asanas can be in Yogasana because of this signature condition that they all come together. Now, who all have come together? You, subjective entity. Then entire band of yours. What is that entire band of yours? Your body, your senses, your mind, your breathing, your organs, your psyche, your consciousness. They are all yours. And then in you aspects. So you, yours and in you, when they come together, that becomes a yoga condition. And in asana, if you are able to actualize that, accentuate it, then it becomes yogasana. Until that time, it will be just a posture. So these matters of body, mind and breath are mutually dissolvable within each other, themselves. Like salt dissolves in water, sugar dissolves in milk, or sugar dissolves in water, salt dissolves in water, lemon dissolves in water. These body, mind matters, when not associated, they don't dissolve, but when associated, they do dissolve. That's the difference, characteristic difference between the body, mind, breath as columns or as boxes, and on the other hand, associated body, associated breath, associated mind. This associated predication tells us that it becomes like sugar and water, sugar and milk, salt and water, lemon and water, where they can easily get dissolved. They lose their identities and they become unified one. Otherwise, not oriented to subject of yoga, we think body is something which keeps itself distant from mind, and mind is something that keeps distant from body. Body matter is made up of the corpuscular cells, the cellular aspects. The mind, we don't say it is made up of cells. The mind matter is different, body matter is different. And you will not be able to blend or unify body matter and mind matter. But in asana, in yoga technology, with yoga technology, when you are in an asana, they will mutually dissolve into each other. They are dissolvable. So, this aspect is to be understood, that this associated body, mind and breath are totally different characteristically than just body, mind and breath. And yoga technology has this identification. And therefore, in the preparatories to asanas, there is a technology whereby the body, mind, breath start interacting. They have interface, interaction, inter-responses, inter-involvement, inter-participation, and then they get kneaded. And this act of kneading is also a marvel. Because where do we see kneading act? Wheat flour, water and oil. Now these three matters are such that they will not touch each other. They will remain untouched by the other. Because the wheat flour is a powdery matter, and we know what is water. Water is substance. You know what is oil. So, unless you do the act of kneading with your hands, or today it is done with a mechanical device, they will not come together. The flour doesn't dissolve in water. Oil doesn't dissolve in water. Water doesn't dissolve in oil. So the physical matters of flour, wheat flour, water and oil, we know that oil and water will never become unified. They will always maintain their entity and separateness. So also wheat and water, wheat and oil. But with the act of kneading, once you knead them, you will see that the three have become one in a complete unified state. Then only you can roll out chapatis out of that matter. There is no identity distinction maintained by wheat flour, water and oil in a kneaded lump out of which the chapatis are rolled out. That's the marvel of kneading, act of kneading. And therefore in asanas there is something called act of kneading. The body, mind, breath as a grosser classification should be kneaded. Body, mind, breath, senses should be kneaded. Body, mind, breath, senses, organs, psyche, consciousness should be kneaded, and they can get kneaded. And when they get kneaded, they become unified one. That is yoga. Who do not come together have come together. That's why it is yoga. So, this concept of kneading the matters of embodiment is so important in the protocol aspects of asanas. And then they have totally different characteristics. Now the body doesn't behave characteristically like a body. Mind doesn't behave characteristically like a mind. Breath doesn't behave characteristically like breath. Because we know what is body matter by characteristics. We know what is mind matter by characteristics and what is breath matter by characteristics. But they get kneaded. They are like wheat, water, oil, who will not come together. There will be no capillary attraction kind of thing in them. But then you are able to knead them. Similarly, there is no capillary attraction or gravity working for them to come together. But act of kneading is an important preparatory in asanas. Then you will realize that associated body matter, associated mind matter, associated breath matter are altogether substantially different. And when they come together, they function differently. Now let's try to understand the vritti, mental vritti. You know how mind is out of control. Bhagavad Gita endorses with this. Rather, it postulates Durnigraham chalam, very difficult to restrain. But in yoga, the trick of yoga is that the mind is put to work in that embodiment aspects by getting connected to each other. Body, mind, breath, senses, when they work, mind has unique functions. When they are disintegrated, you know what the mind, how does it function? In a bizarre way it functions, and then the mind becomes uncontrollable to us, because the mind otherwise is going to the sensory objects outside and the objects outside in the world, and therefore the mind becomes very difficult to restrain. But when we bring them into this community activity, like when you are working in a community activity, you have a different ethos than when you are working in personal ethos. So personal activity ethos is one, family activity ethos is one, social activity ethos is one, but community activity ethos is another. So in the interlude realm, there is a community activity taking place. So it has its own ethos. Like community activity has its own ethos. The personal agendas are kept at bay. They don't really crop up when you are in a ethos of community activity. You are magnanimous, you are sober, you are soft in a community activity. You don't have venom, you don't have hood like a cobra raises the hood. Your personal interest don't raise up the hood. There's a different ethos in community activity. So in asanas, we must understand the concept of community activity between associated body, associated breath, associated mind, associated senses, associated psyche, associated consciousness. There is an ethos, and this ethos itself gives rise to some kind of nirodha dharma. Although there may not be a complete restraint, but the nirodha dharma comes up. Nirodha samskars generate an atmosphere or permeate and subsume the atmosphere. So therefore, to some extent, some kind of chitta vritti nirodha takes place. In the sense, selfish chitta vritti, self-centric chitta vritti, chitta vritti with ulterior motives, chitta vritti with material gravities. These are restrained when the body, mind, breath are interacting within themselves in a community activity. So asanas is a community activity within. We have a huge community within ourselves. We don't have such a community outside, even in the whole planet, on the planet, surface of the planet, because the population of the planet is today said to be something like 8.5 billion. That's all the population. 8.5 billion. But if you consider the embodiment, your own body, there are some hundreds of trillions of cells. So the community inside is hugely large, running into some hundreds of trillions of cells, than the paltry 8.5 billion population of the planet. Where is 8.5 billion? And then where is hundreds of trillions? So we have huge community base. We have huge base for community activity within ourselves. So many corporeal body cells, if trillions and trillions, corpuscular particles, again running in some millions and billions and trillions. So we have huge community within ourselves, and therefore a wonderful condition to have a community culture. So therefore the personal agendas are set aside, ulterior motives go into oblivion, materialistic gravity is nullified, neutralized, and to that extent there is some kind of restraint. Because when body, mind, breath interact, they become magnanimous. They give up us personal or their individual tendencies. Like in community activity, our tendencies are kept at bay, or they are at very diminished condition, diminished status. So similarly, the tendencies are fading out exceptionally, and therefore there is nirodha dharma, so some kind of nirodha, and when they interact there is a nirodha vritti. So because they are now restrained, or they have restrained worldly vrittis, external vrittis out of tendency of the flesh, vrittis out of tendencies of the mind. Because they all start now behaving well because of the community culture. Now they do not have personal boxes whereby the tendencies can play havoc in personal boxes. Body has its own tendencies, mind has its own tendencies. That's why we refer to something as tendency of the mind and tendency of the flesh. And flesh is obviously body. Now they are quite decent. And how are they decent? They have restrained the indecencies. They have restrained the material gravities. They have restrained ulterior motives. They have restrained self-centric tendencies. Therefore, they are Yogasana. So this was an additional dimension which I wanted to divulge today. The concept of associated body, mind, breath, the concept of needed conditions, the concept of interface, interactions, interresponses. So when they are interresponding, interacting, there is a great amount of restraint to mundane vrittis, worldly vrittis. Therefore there is some yoga, some form of yoga surfacing. That is why they are called Yogasana. So this was another topic that I wanted to discuss today, and I did that. So finally, let me tell you that asanas are not postures. Postures are, if I may say so, in our modern day parlance, postures are something like hardware. We need to develop softwares by yoga technology. So one posture will manifest severally. What is important in Yogasanas, or the highlight condition of Yogasanas, that there is a software, and there is a body set of softwares that you can be using suitable to given condition at that point in time. So the postures are only hardware, and you can understand in cyber world, computer world, what is hardware and what is software, what is the scope of function in hardware of a hardware, and what is the function of a software, what does the software do in a hardware, how the hardware manifests and functions differently with whatever software inserted into it. So it's not just a posture. Like in computer science, you just cannot be a hardware engineer. You cannot turn out that machine called computer. But in the functioning of computers, you need to take recourse to software. And software does all the marvel in the computer world. Not the hardware so much, but the software. Hardware becomes quite flexible and multifaceted. So that was the thing that I wanted to say today. That should be enough for time being. So let us proceed on this prologue to Asaranga in our next session. Namaskar all of you.